Hello, welcome back. So in previous episodes, we integrated the CIs between our environments, but this time we are going to be forwarding events from one OBM to another. And the scenario, of course, is an on-prem OBM to the SaaS OBM. So how do you do that? The general process is, of course, you need to provide your details to the SaaS operator, or in other words, you need to have both OBM exchange certificates, but there are two ways to do it that are involved, right? So the environment that is going to be receiving the events, okay, the one that is going to be the main one, it should import the certificate from the environment that you own. But in your environment, it's going to be a little bit simpler because you're going to be importing the certificates from the SaaS environment using some commands, right? So here we go to the SaaS OBM CMD. Just a reminder, we are in the Linux console sitting on a Bastion node because this is a containerized in AWS. But for you, it's going to be your OBM server or your OBM port. You will be connecting to it using this command that I just got from the original documentation. Right, and it means that I'm operating the command line of the OBM server in Linux, right? I'm going to examine all of the certificates that I have in this environment. So obcert minus list is going to give us all of those. Remember those. Okay, what you see on your screen right now, that's what we have, right? So the key store content and everything else, one, two, three certificates, right? So now I'm going to run the BBC Trust Server command. BBC Trust Server basically creates, you instruct your OBM to trust Oldbridge SaaS, and it will just connect to the SaaS environment. And because the SaaS environment already imported the certificate of my own OBM, it would allow this communication. It would say, well, oh, you want my certificates? No worries, I got you, bro. And it will send you certificates one by one. You just say, well, I want to accept them, or I do not want to accept them. Normally, I just accept all of them, right? Because I consider all of them to be worthy for me. That's a lot of certificates because there's a lot of integrations. And yeah, that's about it, right? So I imported all of the certificates. If I repeat the obcert list command, as you see, there are many garbage certificates, but we are ignoring the number of them, and we're ignoring the fact that they are garbage because, well, this is an exercise, and in a cleaner environment of your own environment, you're going to have like 5 certificates because I'm an instructor, and I actually had like 120 people send me certificates. Even after the cleanup, I have several of those, so I'm not going to treat them like garbage. It's just the realities of teaching to so many people. But for you, it's going to be maximum 5. I don't know. Depends on how many OBMs your production has, probably even less. Okay, but what we did, we actually contacted SaaS that already has our details. It already has the certificate of my environment. And it said, and we asked, well, I want to get your certificates too. And the command allowed us to do it really fast instead of getting the certificate files and importing them one by one, which is possible, but not necessary because we have this BBC Trust for command that requires that the certificate would exist on one of the environments. Okay, and this is it. Now we can run a BBC util test to see that the SaaS environment is responding, and it says e-service okay. We got the core ID, the milliseconds, no errors. It means that I have a trust and I have the communication between my environment and the one in SaaS. So now we can safely switch to the administration here, and we can create a connected server. You know what? No, it's a mistake. Sorry. I'll go to infrastructure settings and I'll change the way that the certificates are forwarded. So when you send messages elsewhere, they can go in one line, or they can have. Sorry, they or they can go in several lines. So we need to instruct our OBM to send all of the messages as a one-line parameter, okay, instead of breaking it. Why? Because this is secure connection across the internet, and it is part of an integration. And you don't want to overload the system, and you want to use the most reliable setting that you can. So we change it to one-line event forwarding, and now we will create a connected server. Okay, in the connected servers, we will create an operations bridge manager, and we're gonna say it obsb SAS for January environment. Okay, environment, and we're gonna say, well, the identifier is gonna be obsb SAS January. That's going to be the ID. The address is going to be obsbridge.sas3.obsenablement.com. And then I'm going to just run a test. And the BBC ping result worked because we know that it worked before, because earlier we ran it again in command line. That's basically the same thing that we saw in the last command that we executed. That's the same thing. So we say create. Now in SAS, let me switch quickly to SAS. I need to have a connected server as well. I hope I have the January somewhere here. I do not. Okay, I cleaned it up a little bit. So this is the SAS environment, and I in SAS in turn. This is not something that you're going to be doing. That's something that SAS is going to be doing internally for itself. Right, it's gonna have a January environment for itself as well, and going to be obsbridge.january.obsenablement.com, and I think the run test should fail. Yep, obsenablement.com, January. Yeah, so for SAS, it will fail because we did not set up environment to communicate with an external source, okay? So I'm going to say create. And it means that SAS at the moment cannot reach our environment. We can reach the SAS because the central SAS environment is configured to receive communication on port 383, the agent port. But our environment, the way that it was set up right now, receives only communication on only two public ports, 5443 for configurations and 443 to access the OBM or BVD or GMX, whatever we want. There is no other communication. So when SAS is testing communication to the private environment, it fails, which is good. We were not expecting it to. Right now, we're sending a unidirectional events to SAS. So when we generate an event, it gets to SAS, but when we do something in SAS, it does not do anything for us, which will be changed a little bit later, but that's fine. Okay, so we created our SAS environment, and now we need to go into our own environment, and we need to create a forwarding rule. So it's going to be forward event forwarding. Oh, come on, forwarding. Always use search. So always use search. Okay, so now I'm going to create a rule that says basically that any event, January forward to SAS3. Okay, event filter any open event in, we're not going to filter by view. Any open event that we will gonna be receiving in our OBM from now on would be sent to SAS. Okay, that's a blanket rule over here. Everything that we get, no filtering at all. Okay, and of course, now we need to go and switch to our event perspective so we would not miss the event. And the testing is going to be very simple. I'm going to be sending a test event from command line, just generating a dummy event, basically. and it's going to be January. Okay, so we're going to be using the send event script. January. I really need to reset my computer. It gets very slow. Okay, so the test event for January was sent from command line in my own environment once the event perspective will be loaded. I have no idea what it's waiting for. It's lagging a little bit. Remember, minimal setup. Minimal setup is not very good for fast operation, but that's fine. And that is it. So I created a normal event, severity normal, as you see, with a title January. If everything works, when I switch to the SaaS environment, let me go to the event perspective over here. Server did not respond again. When I'll go to the SaaS environment right now, this is not my environment, this is the SaaS environment. I should be seeing my event. Let's see, let's clear all of the events over here. I have an event overload. What can I do? As you see, I received the January event. Now, I also sent the command to clear all of the events. I have like 5,000 events over here. This is why it's so slow. But the idea is that this is unidirectional, and I can repeat it as many times as I want. So I'll go here and I'll generate the event once more. For some reason, it did not save the command. So let me do this. Right. Let's generate another event. We will go directly to SaaS and wait for the event to be forwarded. So from the moment that we created the event until it reaches SaaS, I believe it should be like 5 seconds. Okay, there it is. So how do we know that this is unidirectional? Because when I'll go and I'll change the severity of the event in SaaS, this is SaaS, I'll go to my environment, and the new event, the one that I changed, it's still on the severity normal. It doesn't go back. Oh no, what are we gonna do? Well, now we will be changing our configuration to bidirectional, which means that I need to allow SaaS into my own environment. Now, if you run, like, let's say, an in-house setup where you have OBM in-house, that is the main OBM, and some subordinate OBM, that is the subordinate OBM, probably your firewalls are already set up to work in a way that allows you to get all of the events that you want from all of the locations without any additional steps. So this is where the AWS part comes in, I guess. So I guess I'll do it in a separate video, but in general, the on-prem environment would already have the V3 open between all of the servers. So you don't need to configure anything for bidirectional. But for AWS to AWS, it's an additional step, and we'll separate it into a separate video. So see you in the next one if this is relevant for you.